All right, logarithms and log laws. So those of you that said, I kind of remember logs, but not too much, we're going to go through a quick review. Log base b of a equals x. It goes both ways to be rewritten as b to the x equals a. All right, I think of it as wrapping around. It's not b to the a power, it's log base b of a. So b to the x equals a. Wrap around, b to the x equals a. Or log base b of a equals x. It's never connected like b with the x, you see that? Or b with the a. They're always wrapped around. All right, a few things, a few restrictions. B cannot be. A few things that b cannot be. Anybody know what any of them are? B cannot be? Zero. Good. B cannot be 1. Good job, Nick. B cannot be a type of number. Negative. Good job. All right, a few restrictions for the A. A cannot be 0, and A cannot be negative. It can be 1, but it can't be 0 or negative. All right. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is just practice rewriting, evaluating. We will be using calculators eventually, so you either have your own scientific calculator or you use one of mine from my class set. Whatever you use, you're comfortable with, so test day comes, you know how to use it, because I can't answer on test day, how do I plug this in my calculator? Got it? So don't get used to your phones because you can't use your phone. Even though you can have the log key on your phone, you can't use it on the test. All right, number 1, log base 2 of 32. All right. Even if I had a calculator, I'd have to use a change of base formula because does anybody know what base the calculators are programmed with? Base 10 or base E? Not base 2, so we'd have to use the change of base. So right now we don't have that yet. We don't want to use our calculators just yet. So think of it this way. We're looking for what this equals. Even though there's not an equal x, I'm going to put it in there. Even though there was no equal, it didn't say solve, it said evaluate, but in my head I process, well, what does this equal? I don't know. My I don't know is x. How would I rewrite this when I wrap around? 2 to what power is 32? And then we can do this in our head, but what was the practice we get? So when it gets harder, same base, 2 to the x equals 2 to the, I heard you whispering it, 5th, so x equals 5. Do you have to show me this middle step right here? No. All right, let's try another one. Number 2, log base 29, that's a wonky 29, log base 29 of 1. Know how to read it? Kids are like log of 29 to the first power. That's not what that is. Log base 29 of 1. This is when you want to eventually have memorized. Okay, it's not an equation, but in our head we're thinking, what does this equal? We call that, we don't know what it equals, x, and wrap around. What does it become? 29 to the equals 1. Can anybody do that one in their head? 0. X equals 0.
So anything to the 0 power is 1.
Anything to the 0 power is 1. So if this base here had been 10 to the x equals 1, your answer would still be 0. If this base had been 5 to what power is 1, your answer would still be 0. All right, number 3. Log of 0.0001. All right. Zoom in. There is not a number at the bottom. Good.
So it'd be base 10.
So that's base 10. Good job, guys. When there is no base there, that means it's a base of 10. Now, I'm not going to write it every single time, but when you don't see it, you assume it to be what? 10. 10, unless it's ln, which we'll talk about later. Okay, we don't know what the answer is, so we're going to call it x. And how do I wrap around? What do I write down? 10 to the x equals, and I'm not going to write that decimal down. Last week we talked about how to change it to a fraction. Okay, so tenths. Good. Tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000. So 1 over 10,000. I think I put an extra 0. All right. So it's going to be a negative number. Does everyone see how he sees that it's going to be a negative number? Ignoring the negative first, 10 to what power is 10,000? Count your zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 10 to the 4th is 10,000. 10 to what power is 1 over 10,000? So 10 to the negative 4. What does x equal? All right. Questions? Yes. If they do not write a base for you, it's automatically a base 10, unless it's an ln, which I don't know if you see today. No. So when it's an ln, well, it's a base e, which we will see eventually. Yes. The negative is for the base, and the base is 10. The base is not negative. She's saying, okay, the two things that cannot be negative is the A and the B, but the answer, which is x, can be negative. There was no restriction on what the answer can be. Do you see that? All right, so the not negative piece is the base and the of part. Log base b of a, those two cannot be negative, which is neither of the case here. Got it? All right, number 4. Log base root 2 of 8. Is this an equation? No, it's not an equation. Do we make an equation so that we can solve it? So the equal to x. All right, and then do your wrap around, and what do I rewrite it as? Root 2 to the x equals 8. Any thoughts on the same base we're going to use? 2. Let's do the 8 first. That's a little easier. 8 is what? 2 to what power? 2 to the 3rd. Now, the square root of 2, we should know how to do that. Root 2 is 2 to the... Does everyone agree that root 2 is 2 to the 1/2? Yes? And a power, yeah? And a power to a power I multiply. What's 1/2 times x? 1/2 x equals 2 to the 3rd. Am I allowed at this point to drop the bases? Why? Because there's exactly how many on each side? 1, and they are exactly the same. 1/2 x equals 3. Go ahead and solve that. What do you get? 6. All right, any questions on this Math 3 review? Did it feel like review? Yeah, nothing too hard. All right, the next piece we're going to do, we're going to write down our log laws. All right. There were 3. First one, log base b of m times n. Log base b of mn, that means m times n, equals, does anybody remember how you ripped it apart last year? I'll start you off.
Wouldn't it be log b of n, log b of n?
There was a log bm, and there was a log bn, and what sign was in between? It was no longer multiplication.
Plus.
Plus. It is addition. All right. Number 2, log base b of m over n. And it broke up, you ripped it apart again with log base b of m and log base b of n, but what sign was in between? Minus. One way to remember it is when you're multiplying like bases, you add the exponents. When you're dividing like bases, you subtract the exponents. So multiply, addition, division, subtraction. It's just how to link them together. All right. Questions before I move on to the third one? Okay. Log base b of m to the k power. Does anybody remember what happens? It doesn't get ripped apart. Something happens with the k. It moves. It moves to the front. Good job. K times log base b of m. K times log base b of m. You will need to have these memorized. You will need to know them. And we're going to move on with the notes. Any questions before I move on? That's one page. We usually do more than one page. I have one page left. All right. This was the review. This is the log laws, which is still review. We're going to move on to some of the harder problems. Before I move on, do you guys at least vaguely remember the log laws?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to write as a single log. Write as a single log. Number 1, 1/2 log base 5 of 49 minus 1/3 log base 5 of 8 plus 13 log base 5 of 1. All right, I'm going to speed up a little bit here only because it is review and we are running out of time. I want to condense it to a what? A single log. Okay, in order, we know subtraction becomes division and addition becomes multiplication. Before I do all that, if you look back to the log laws, the numbers 1 and 2, did they have any leading coefficients? No. Did they have any numbers in front?
No.
No, so they can't have numbers in front. When they do, right here, where can we put them? As the exponents. So take a look at all of your coefficients, and what are we going to do with them? We're going to put them as exponents, is correct. All right, so log base 5 of 49 to the 1/2 power. How can I rewrite that? 49 to the 1/2 power is the same as saying what?
-2.
Square root of 49. And we will write it at 7. I will rewrite it as 7 later. All right, log base 5 of the what? Square root or cube root? Cube root of 8 plus log base 5 to, of 1 to what power? All right, log base 5 of 7 minus log base 5 of 2 plus log base 5 of 1. All right. How do we rewrite this? Let's go from left to right. Do those two have the same base?
Yeah.
All right, when I rewrite it, 7 divide by 2 or 7 times 2? Okay, so log base 5 of 7/2 plus log base 5 of 1. All right, and that addition, and because of the same base, I'm going to combine the 7/5 and the 1 together with what? Multiplication. Log base 5 of 7/2 times 1. What's my final answer? Log base 5 of? Is this the same thing I had right here? Did this plus log base 5 of 1 really change anything?
No.
It didn't. Think about why. What is log base 5 of 1? What is it? 0. So if I'm adding 0 to a number, should it change anything? No. Oh, does it make sense? All right. Questions? All right. This part, I'm going to put a star here. Kids struggle with on the test every year, so make sure you're paying attention. Given log of 4 equals m, and log of 6 equals n. That's all that you're given. All right, I'm going to put a little note here. You will always be using your log laws. Use your log laws. If you don't use your log laws, you're doing it incorrectly. All right? You're ripping apart or pulling together with the log laws rules that we've learned. And second one, should know log. What's the base here that we don't see? So it's a base of 10. So log of 10 equals what? If the base is 10, 10 to what power is 10? 10 to what power is 10? 1. Okay, they didn't give us that. Should we know it? Log base 5 of 5 is 1. Log base 2 of 2 is 1. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So since the base is 10, log of 10 equals 1. Yes? All right, number 1. Log of 24. Okay, it's together. I want to rip it apart. So let's rewrite it as log of, can I rewrite 24 using multiplication or division, because those are my log laws, multiplication or division with 6 and 4, or 10.
Yeah.
What would I use? 6 what? 6 times 4? Okay, I'm not ready to plug in. I haven't used my log laws yet. Log laws. What am I going to do? How do I rip it apart? Log of 6 plus log of 4. Now that I've used my log laws, am I ready to plug in? What's log of 6? N. What's log of 4? M. N plus M is my answer. Let's try another one. Number 2, log of 1/4. There's more than one way to approach this. Anybody have any suggestions? I can rip it apart, or I can change it to 4 to the negative 1. What do you guys want to do? Rip it apart using subtraction, or bring it 4 to the negative 1. 4 to the negative 1. What would you guys most likely do? That? Okay. Log of 4 to the negative 1. I haven't used my log law yet, so I'm going to use number 3 and do what with the negative 1? Bring it to the front. Negative 1 times log of 4. I've used my log law, and I have something to plug in for log of 4. What is log of 4? So negative 1 times m. What's my final answer? Negative m. Number 3, log of 2. That's a tricky one, and a lot of kids struggle with this one. Is there any way to use 4 or 6 with multiplication, division, and I did forget log 3, and exponent, and I'll give it to you guys because of time. Do you agree that 4 to the 1/2 is equivalent to 2? Why would I use 4 to the 1/2? Because 4 is one of the numbers they gave me, and law number 3 allows me to do what with the 1/2? Bring it to the front. 1/2 log of 4. I've used my log law, and I have something to plug in for log 4. What is it? 1/2 m. Make sense? There is one I didn't get to give you using the log 10, so if you struggle with that one, I'll do it with you guys. I'll probably make a video notes for you guys tomorrow.